Welcome to my channel where we discuss everything and all things politics, economy, and development in Nigeria and around the world. The United States government has just released a report, a human rights report on Nigeria in 2023. And what they said about the 2023 election in Nigeria is what we are going to talk about right now. The United States government got it right in one part of the report and got it wrong, totally wrong, in another section of the report. Where they got it right was in their assessment that the Igbos and other non-Yorubas were intimidated, were harassed, were brutalized ahead of the governorship election in Lagos State, after P2B had won the presidential election in Lagos State earlier. And then where they got it wrong was in their overall assessment of the election. And you see why I'm kicking against their overall assessment of the election. But in terms of what happened in Lagos, they were absolutely right. And I'm not surprised that they got it right in Lagos, because America has a thriving consulate in Lagos. They have a thriving office, so they were able to monitor what happened, followed effectively. But in their own assessment of the general election, where they literally gave a pass to the election that produced Bola Ahmed Tinubu, that is where they got it totally wrong. And they do not have the capacity to be able to assess the presidential election. This is because the United States government was not known to have gotten election observers for that election, unlike the European Union that had monitor group whose assessment was a true reflection of what happened in that election. So we're going to look at that right away. Now, the United States government has concluded that the ruling All Progressive Congress sponsored talks to intimidate and suppress voters in Igbo-dominated areas in Lagos during the March 18, 2023 governorship election. The United States Department of State disclosed this in its 2023 country report on human rights practices, Nigeria. The title of their report is 2023 Country Report on Human Rights Practices, Nigeria, which has been published on its website. Now, according to the United States government, following the victory of Peter Obi of the Labour Party at the February 25, 2023 presidential poll, the ruling party hired thugs. The ruling party hired thugs. Americans were able they were apt on this. The ruling party hired thugs to deny Igbo voters. To deny Igbo voters the opportunity to vote for Gbadebo Rhodes Vivour. So that was a deed. And they did it to favor the incumbent governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, who was seeking a second term of office. So in this, you cannot dispute the Americans in this their report. Now, the United States government acknowledged that Nigeria's election last year was widely reported to have reflected the will of the voters, despite technical and logistic difficulties, and some irregularity. This is where I quarrel with the American report. Because what they are claiming here is that that the election was widely reported to have reflected the will of the voters. It did not reflect the will of the voters. The election of 2023 did not reflect the will of the voters, especially the presidential election. That was why when President Bola Ahmed Tinubu was announced late in the night as the winner of that election, there was no celebration. There was no jubilation. Nobody was excited except for those who are in the APC and those who are aiming to be part of the government. No Nigerian, no reasonable Nigerian was excited. There was no joy. It was the kind of silence that bedeviled Nigeria, that enveloped Nigeria the next day that Bola Ahmed Tinubu was declared winner. You would think that somebody died in Nigeria. You would think that Nigerians were in mourning, and they expectedly so, because it was against everything they voted for. The result was against everything they voted for. So Nigerians were truly disappointed. And even if you look at the INEC result, you will see that if you calculate the vote that Peter Obi got, Atiku Abubakar got, and Rabiu Musa Kwankwaso also got, they were almost double the vote that INEC used in declaring Bola Ahmed Tinubu the winner, which was just 8.7 million votes. Whereas the votes of these three gentlemen were almost 15 million votes. It has never happened before in Nigerian history, where the result of the defeated people, if you add it up, it is higher, double the vote of the winner of the election. We never had this kind of thing since 1999. It was the first, and you can see that Nigerians were not excited. They were not happy. Nigerians voted for change. A change from APC, and then the election was manipulated, as has been confirmed by even several people, including Lai Mohammed, but that is statement that INEC deliberately switch off the transmission of presidential election results from the beavers to the INEC IRIF in real time. They switch it off, something they say they will never do. Something they say that everybody can see the result from any part of the world in real time, anywhere you are in the world. We are all looking forward to it. And they sabotage that, as was carried by Premium Times and reported widely in other newspapers, where Lai Mohammed specifically in an interview said that INEC deliberately switched off the transmission, claiming that there was a cyber attack, but there were no evidence of any cyber attack against INEC facility that day, or INEC backbone, whatever. So this is where the American government get it absolutely wrong. If you want to have a true idea of what happened in that election, you go and read the reports by the European Union Monitoring Group. Those are the ones that give a apt verdict on the election. So this is where I had issues with the American government assessment of the election. In terms of Lagos, they got it well. And I'm not surprised they got Lagos well, because they have a lot of staff in Lagos. And Lagos was where they stay largely. So they could be able to follow events and stuff, because even when you look at some of the things they wrote, you know that they were on ground in Lagos. But being on ground in Lagos didn't mean that the US government officials were on ground all over the country or move around the whole country the way the European Union Monitoring Group did. Now, continuing let us look at their assessment. They say many independent observers, this is where I also had issues with them. They say many independent observers assess the result of the presidential, legislative, and the state level elections during the year reflected the will of voters. What they are claiming here is that many independent observers assessed the result of the presidential, legislative, and state level elections during the year, and then claimed that it reflected the will of the voters, despite the report of voter suppression and vote buying, campaigning at the polling station, lack of ballot secrecy, violence, and intimidation, the report noted. So this is part of the reason why I have issues with the report of the United States government. There were no credible, independent observers that supported that election was free and fair, that it was credible. The only people that you see that claimed that the election was credible was the Nigerian Bar Association, and it's laughable for anybody to believe Nigerian Bar Association, who are literally in bed with the APC government, that their assessment of the money, because when the European Union gave their verdict, one of the non-governmental organizations they mentioned to defend the outcome of the election, the government of Buhari, was to tell us that Nigerian Bar Association, they have lawyers that monitor the election, that they had more men on ground than the European Union. It was a laughable something, because we know that these kind of organizations are always influenced by politicians. They are not independent. The Bar Association, they are not independent, so their assessment cannot be taken as assessment of an unbiased umpire or observer like the European Union. The European Union had nothing at stake in that election. They were just there to observe, to see that the rules and regulations were followed, and they discovered that it was not followed. So this is where I pick hole with the assessment of the election. Of course, this is where I agree with them when they stated that during the March 18 state election in Lagos State, All Progressive Congress supporters reportedly intimidated and suppressed voters in Igbo-dominated areas, which Labour Party presidential candidate and ethnically Igbo, Peter Obi, won in the February 25 national election. Continuing, the American government wrote that viral videos on social media showed APC supporters in Ojo threatening to attack ethnic Igbo voters. Ethnic Igbo voters presumed to be pro-Obi. In Etiosa, APC supporters also attacked journalists. They attacked journalists and in some cases shut down voting and prevented non-Yoruba voters from accessing polls. They similarly destroyed property and physically blocked voters in Amo or Dauphin, the report alleged. The report also made reference to videos on social media showing police officers present at polling stations where electoral malpractices and violence took place, failing to respond to attacks. It added that there was no evidence to show that any of the alleged perpetrators had been arrested or persecuted. Of course, we know all the people that perpetrated that violence against non-indigenous of Lagos State in that election. Nothing had happened to them to this day. So the American government report on this is absolutely apt. They got it right. Nothing had happened to them. Because it means that the APC government endorsed it. Don't forget that when this intimidation happened in Lagos, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu did not say anything because he was in Lagos. Because if you see the videos, you will think you are watching this Rwanda movie. What's the name of that movie? I have to remember. Sometime in April. Because that is what will come to your mind. Sometime in April. It's a movie about the Rwanda genocide. And you could see the rhetorics that were coming out by Onanoga, one of the key spokespersons of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, saying that this is the last time Igbo should interfere in the politics of Lagos. As if you are not an indigenous of a place, you cannot participate in politics or vote in an election in a state. But Bayo Onanoga was so proud, and nobody called him to order. And today he had been rewarded for his ethnic laws against the Igbos. Tinubu has rewarded him. An indication that Tinubu endorsed what happened. Because if not, why do you need somebody who did that to the level that people reported him to the ICC? People wrote a petition against him to the ICC, against Bayo Onanoga, because of the ethnic slurs he was promoting against the Igbos. But that is the person that Bola Ahmed Tinubu rewarded, indicating that he was thanking him for a job well done. So this report ought to have mentioned that the leader of APC, the presidential of the candidate of the APC, was in Lagos. There was no statement from him condemning ethnic violence that enveloped Lagos. Because apparently, like the report by the United States government said, it was APC that instigated it, that are the originators of it, that pushed it. And thank God the Americans saw it, and now it has been documented forever. It has been documented forever. It will be in American archive. People will read it in years to come, the American position on what happened in Lagos when APC used violence and intimidation and was almost on the verge of pulling off another Rwanda in Nigeria. But for the common sense of the non-indigenous who didn't want to fight them back, because it's not as if push come to shove, that if non-indigenous face them, that they will defeat the non-indigenous easily like that. But they allow it peace to reign. Now all those people that fought, where are they today? Southwest has just signed peace accord with Meetiala. Why didn't they say that they will sign peace accord with Meetiala, that Lagos is our own? But because Southwest, mean that Lagos was among those that signed the peace pact with Meetiala. Meetiala that came all the way from the north has intimidated them to the level that they have to sign peace pact with them. Why didn't they come out to fight Meetiala? Why are they signing peace accords, since they are very strong people? But that is by the way. That is, to me, that's just by the way. But this is to show what happened in that election, that there was intimidation. So the American government got it right. Now, the true reflection of the result of that election, the true reflection of that election was missed by the Americans in their report. So if you want to have a true reflection of what happened in that election, you have to read the European Union report. So the Americans need to go and read the European Union report and not rely on hearsay that people said, independent observers said that that the election was, even though there were irregularities, that it was a reflection of the will of the people. It was not a reflection of the will of the people. That was why nobody celebrated. Did you know the kind of celebration that took place when Goodluck Ebele Jonathan won in 2015, in 2011, for the first time for somebody from South to become president of Nigeria? Do you know the kind of celebration that was on the air? Do you know the kind of celebration that took place in 2015 when Buhari won? People were celebrating until several people died in ecstasy. In celebration, many people died, particularly in northern Nigeria, celebrating the victory of Buhari. Who celebrated the victory of Bola Ahmed Tinubu, even in the southwest Nigeria, where he hailed from? That's an indication that it was not that election was not a reflection of the will of the people, including the southwest. There was no excitement, no rejoicing, no parties, no trending videos of people celebrating the outcome of that election. So the Americans got it wrong, absolutely, in saying that independent verification, independent observers say that it was a reflection of the will of the people despite the irregularities. No. You guys got it wrong in that we have, and that's why I'm making this video, to correct that aspect of your report where you got it wrong. Absolutely wrong. Now, let us look at just a brief glance as what the European Union said about the election. The European Union, in their own report, just giving you a summary of it, said that the election were marred by problems that reduced the people's confidence in the election. It said people lost hope in democracy. It said people lost hope because of the irregularities, because of the problems that are associated with that election. The failure to transmit the result as INEC promised, the change of the goalpost at the middle of the match. INEC told us that the result that they are going to that Nigerians are going to see the result being uploaded in real time, and that the result is not going to be manual. Only for them at the middle of the game, they changed the goalpost and now tell us that, and they told us that INEC can decide to do manual or whatever type of collection of results. That was why when the European Union in their report, you see where they are talking about that INEC need to stipulate, need to check the law so that there should be clarity on the law, on the electoral law, that there should be clarity. You say that INEC promise that the result will be released on real time. You'll be seeing it because the way they said it, all of us can see it on real time, and that you cannot collect this result manually, but they eventually collected it manually and announced the result manually. And you think that they can fool the world. Now, in the European Union observer said that they said in a final report that the election has reduced public confidence in democracy in Nigeria. people lost confidence in the electoral process. And it is true. There are many people who were just so disappointed. They vowed that they will never participate in any election in Nigeria again. Because election was it was a scam as far as they can see it. It was a scam. So the European Union advocated for reforming the election. He said that INEC should improve in 6 areas. It identified 6 areas that INEC should improve upon. And then one of the areas is removing ambiguity in electoral law. You see part of the electoral law, they will tell you that the result, there will be no manual collection of results or manual collection of results. Then after the election, you now begin to see them using manual collection of results, changing the goalpost at the middle of the match. And one of the things that European Union monitors said is that there is that INEC, that they could not see the results that INEC used in declaring the winners of the election. They could not see it. Cannot be independent. Let me use their word. Cannot be independently verified. The result they use in making the declaration could not be independently verified. Of course, he made the Tinubu government they were mad. That was why they issued statement attacking the European Union. I'm sure they will be excited with what the Americans have written, because American has given the indication, has given them a lifeline that generally the election was the reflection of the will of Nigerian people. That's not true. The election was not the reflection of the will of the Nigerian people. If it were, Nigerians would have celebrated the emergence of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Nobody celebrated. Nobody celebrated. We didn't see it. Nigerians excited. Nigeria was like a graveyard the next day. Literally. It was like Nigeria was mourning. There was no excitement. People had already suffered a lot in the last 8 years. They were looking for change, only for them to be told that, sorry, there will be no change. People were walking around with long faces. And what they feared most is what is still happening now. Poverty has increased. Hardship has increased far more than it was under Buhari. So what are we talking about? How can the Americans write this kind of Jundi's assessment that the election was a reflection of the will of the Nigerian people? No. If you want to know the true reflection of the will of the Nigerian people, or a report that gives an indication of the truth about 2023 presidential election, it is the report by the European Union Monitoring Group. That is the report that truly reflects the feelings of Nigerians. They lost hope. They lost enthusiasm in the electoral process because of the way INEC handled that election. To this day, many people are still angry with INEC and their officials. Thank you for watching this video, and if you are new to my channel, you are not yet subscribed to my channel, please subscribe to my channel. Hit the subscription button, hit the notification bell. When you subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, anytime I have a new video, you'll be among the first to know. God bless you. And please don't forget to like this video, because when you like it, Google will rank it high and recommend it for more people. Thank you, and God bless you and yours.